West. Let's move into the National League Central, and we'll go with your Brewers, Ben.
Yeah, the Brewers have done an outstanding job internationally, just going back to 2019 or so. They signed Jefferson Curo, they signed Jackson Churio. Last year, they got Jesus Made and Luis Pena, a bunch of other really intriguing players from Latin America scattered throughout the system. I think Pena would be a good pick here. He hasn't broken out yet to the level that Jesus Made has. Uh, but I think the next big international prospect for them is going to be Brylan Antunes, an outfielder who they signed this year from Venezuela. He just turned 17. He's an advanced hitter for his age. He stays back, recognizes pitches, he puts himself into good counts, and he has a good track record of hitting in games. Now, look, it's amateur games in, whether it's Venezuela or in the Dominican Republic, but um, in terms of making contact, on base skills, power, he's maybe 6 feet, not that big, tall of a guy, but he's strong, good bat speed. He can drive the ball out of the park to his pull side now. It looks like he's going to be a 20, 25 home run guy, and he can play center field too. He gets plus to plus grades on his speed. He has good instincts in the outfield. The arm is plus. As he continues to fill out, maybe he goes to a corner. It could end up defensively, maybe like a Jackson Churio right now, right where
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Churio could play center field, but for a lot of major league teams, just in Milwaukee, he's a corner outfielder, and maybe the same thing happens with Antunes. But I expect him to be one of the elite hitters in the DSL this year, and he's somebody who we already have ranked him pretty aggressively in the Brewers top 30. But I think a lot more people are going to know Brian Antunes' name by the end of the year.
The Brewers seem to do with center fielders what a lot of people complain about with shortstops. They have so many fast, speedy outfielders. Their entire outfield is really built up of just center fielders who are being forced to the corners, and it sounds like they got another one.
Oh, good thing they signed Made and Luis Pena to play shortstop last year, so this should be a good balance there.
All right, well, I'm going to actually jump up the rankings this time, and I'm going to take Bishop Letson,
Mm.
who is a pitcher I was really intrigued by, especially after reading your updated report on him. Tall, lanky right-hander, listed at 6'4", 170 pounds. He's got a 3-pitch mix with a fastball that has been up to 98, sits in the lower 90s. He's got a slider that he uses a ton, good sweeping action. He's got a changeup as well that looks like at least 3 average or better pitches with the fastball and slider getting above average grades. But the extension that you had mentioned in your report, Ben, it sounds like he has like some of the most extreme extension in all the minor leagues, and just
It's elite, yeah.
yeah, his height, his ability to get down the mound, his lower than average release point. Like I would imagine his fastball has a chance to become a real weapon. The breaking ball has a chance to become a real weapon, just given where he's able to put that. I mean, he's not throwing a ton of innings yet, but the performance was solid in 2024 with Low A Carolina. He made 14 starts, posted a 3.13 ERA over 63.1 innings, struck out a little over 8 per 9, walked just under 4 per 9. So it sounds like he's kind of still syncing up the release point, trying to control the gangly frame, but I really like the tools that he has to work with. You can't teach that extension, obviously. If he can get a little bit more precise with his command, if he can continue to fill out that frame and add some more power, it feels like he could really quickly step into like monster territory. So I'll go with Bishop Letson.
Yeah, he's athletic. We saw the velocity start to tick up last year. I think we could see another jump for him just with
Mm,
continued strength gains. And it's somebody who is not, doesn't have a ton of experience, even relative to his peer group, or just like a ton of like upper level coaching type experience, right? Like he was a pretty lightly recruited player. I think he's committed to Purdue. No disrespect to Purdue. It's just not, they're not usually sweating it out over
mhm.
losing their recruits to the draft, but just a lot of overall really encouraging projection arrows pointing up with him. I think there's a bunch of arms in that system between him, Josh Noth, Bryce Message, all guys who
Mhm.
could take
Yeah, I
a leap
wanted to
forward
take
this year.
Noth as well, but after just reading through Letson's report, he was the one that was just the most fascinating to me. All right, let's move on to the Cubs.
They also had a really nice international signing class this year. I think the player who the Cubs signed this year who has the most upside and the one who we have ranked highest in their top 30 right now is Juan Tomas, shortstop from Dominican Republic. He he looks like I don't even know. Like there aren't many baseball players who look like him. Like Larry Fitzgerald. I don't know. He's 6'3", 175 pounds, long levers, lean, ultra athletic. Looks like he should be catching touchdowns on Saturdays or Sundays. There's just a ton to dream on physically and athletically, especially in terms of the power and speed. It's already plus run now. There's a ton of space to fill out. Maybe he slows down. Maybe he still gets faster. I mean, he just turned 17, but he's definitely going to get stronger and he's definitely going to grow into more power. And he's already driving the ball out of the park now. So I expect big power from him once he's filled out. We'll see what happens this year, right? Once the official games get started in the Dominican Summer League, he might hit a buck 80, or he might show that he's able to keep those long limbs under
Mm,
control and make enough contact. The early signs in that department have definitely been good. I just love the upside here, and some of the indicators on the bat early on have been really encouraging too.
nice. Okay, I'll go towards the arm side again for the Cubs. I'm going to go with number 16, Brody McCullough. Um, McCullough was a player who signed in the 10th round in the 2022 draft for just $125,000. Pitched really well at Division II Wingate. Started as a reliever, made a strong transition to the starting rotation. Also pitched really well in the Cape before the draft. That was really encouraging. His strikeout and walk rates were really solid throughout college. I guess the strike throwing in particular was something that always really stood out for him. He only threw 14 innings in 2024. He had a knee injury that really limited him for much of the year. But his three pitch mix is above average control. He's another guy that gets above average extension. Um, Jeff really noted that he has kind of this ideal four seam cut ride shape with the fastball. It's a really limited sample, obviously, but in 2024, it was 92, 93, touching 95, getting about 19 inches of ride, 1.7 inches of horizontal break, which is really a ton of cut from a slightly above average release height, again, above average extension. So it feels like that pitch is going to play plus. I think Jeff has 55 on it. I could easily see that pitch playing plus in the future. He's also got a slider and a changeup that both missed a lot of bats in his brief time. He got 13, 14% swinging strike rate or better on all three of his pitches. So he's a guy that I'm excited to see a fully healthy season. He scrapped a curveball, really just focusing on these three pitches. So a guy with really good shape on the fastball, a slider that misses bats, a changeup that's reliable, and he throws strikes. So now we're just waiting on the health. But he's a guy I could see easily making a jump if he does stay healthy, stay on the mound, and just continue showing the stuff that he flashed in 24.
Starter look for you, or some reliever risk there?
I think so. I mean, he's pitching relief in the past, but everything he's done in pro ball, everything he's done like later in his college career, feels like he should be given every opportunity to start. I don't see any real reason to push him to the pen at this stage.
All right. Um, Cardinals, my pick for them is Yairo Padilla, who I think he's the best shortstop the Cardinals have signed out of Latin America. In
I was about to say Mason Windows not signed that long ago, but
no,
Latin
well,
America.
I believe I remember seeing him in the United States. So no, the best one they've signed out of Latin America in a long time. And um, I wrote a story last year on January 15th on some breakout picks from that 2024 international class, guys who signed for less than $1 million. So I thought I could take a big jump forward. And um, he was one of them. He definitely has already taken that big jump forward now. He turned 17 in June. So he's young for the class, 6'2", young, lanky, lean, athletic, switch hitter, just a real loose, low effort swing. He's able to recognize pitches, work quality at bats, get on base at a high clip. There isn't like big power right now, but you can definitely see the physical projection that he has to potentially come into, hard to put a number on it exactly, but potentially average power once he fills out, layers on more strength. He's a plus runner. The arm is plus. All the tools are there for him to play shortstop. I guess the one thing is he might just not be done growing, so maybe he
Hmm.
does outgrow shortstop. We'll see. I think that and the power are going to be the keys for him. But I think once he comes over to the States this year and even more people get eyes on him, I think the excitement, which is already obviously grown based on where we have him ranked in the Cardinals top 10 right now, but I think the buzz is only going to get bigger.
Okay, nice. I'm going to go to the mound again for the Cardinals. I'm going to take a really polished strike thrower, and that now that I'm done with Tyson Neighbors and Bishop Letson, that will be a theme for the pitchers that I'm taking. I've got a lot of guys I feel pretty confident in their strike throwing ability. I'm going to go with Brian Holiday, who was a third round pick. This most recent draft in 2024, it seems like the Cardinals in the draft have really targeted players who dominate the zone, whether that's hitters who just make a lot of contact in the zone and don't expand it, or pitchers who really know how to attack it. They obviously had a massive success story getting Quinn Matthews and adding a little bit more velocity and really transforming that profile. I'm not sure that you can bank on just every pitcher the Cardinals take adding velocity. And Brian Holiday is this shorter, probably close to maxed out, 5'11", 200-pound right-hander who maybe has a fringy fastball, sits low 90s. It does play up a little bit. He gets good riding life, and it's a low approach angle. But really, the fastball sets up a really solid trio of secondaries for him. He has great feel for all these pitches. Probably nothing that's plus. I don't know if we have a single above average pitch on him. I'm sure the slider at times can play above average, but really just what allows him to stand out is the command. I mean, he was one of the better strike throwers in the college class. He walked 19 batters in 113 innings as a 1.5 walk per nine in college with Oklahoma State in 2024. I view him as a plus strike thrower. So I could really see him just being a guy who dominates early on in his pro career, and then how the stuff is able to either sharpen up a little bit as he moves forward, or maybe he's going to be a guy who just the command is so good he's able to maximize it without really having a wipeout offering. But I'm high on Brian Holiday. Excited to see what he does in pro ball. He didn't pitch after signing, but he's kind of a consistent winner dating back to his early college days with Central Florida JC. Won a national championship with that club. Was the most outstanding pitcher of the tournament that year. He's really fun to watch on the mound. He attacks, just really competitive. So he's fun to watch, and he's been really productive and super consistent. So if he can add a little bit of power, that would be great. But if not, I still like kind of the whole all around package. Another back of the rotation upside sort of pitcher for me.
Yeah, I was going to say starter, reliever.
Yeah, if it's a reliever, it really hurts the value. I think he needs to start. Hopefully he can be like a 4 or 5, but you just don't see a lot of. I guess it's like 90-93. It's not like we're in the tugboat range of velocity. We're not in the sort of Mark Burley mid to upper 80s. So he still has some velo. It's maybe not quite as bad as I'm saying. He'll touch a 95. I think that's enough with plus command if that plus command actually is maintained in pro ball.
All right. Um, the Cincinnati Reds, I think my pick for them is their third baseman, Sal Stewart. He only played
He did it
half the
again,
season
Ben.
because of a wrist injury, but when he was on the field, he shows you a lot of things that
Hmm.
you want to see from a young hitter. He controls the strike zone, he recognizes pitches, stays back, high contact guy, hits the ball hard. Um, on the defensive side, certainly more work to do to prove that he can stick at third base. I think he'll be able to do it, but it's definitely not yet to the point where you can feel totally comfortable saying, yes, he's a definite big league third baseman defensively. But the offensive profile is there for him to project well at third base if he can stick there.
Yeah, Stewart was my guy as well here. So it's our second double up. I may be a little bit less excited about the defensive profile, both with him and Cam Collier. I feel like they're kind of stretched at third. Cam Collier was a guy I was going to mention, but I've talked about him so frequently. I wanted to go a little bit further down and get to a guy like Stewart. He just has always done a nice job making contact, controlling the zone, hitting for power. He had that blend as a high schooler. In his pro career, he's really consistently walked at a high rate between 14 and 17% at every level. He's never struck out more than 20% of the time. He's been a well above average hitter for each level. I don't know how much power you expect him to come into in the future, if you can trade maybe some of that contact skill and let fly a little bit more frequently. I expect him to be an above average offensive player, however he gets there. But I think he can do a lot of things at the plate, like depending on what his approach is. I don't think he's the best athlete. I don't think he's the best runner. I don't think he's going to offer you a lot, like defensively or with his legs, but just a lot of conviction, the pure hitting ability, a lot of belief that he can get to more power in game in the future. He'll be entering his age 21 season. We'll see what he does. Hopefully in the upper levels of the minors. I think he's pretty handily shown he can handle A-ball pitching at this stage. But what do you expect from him in terms of the power department?
Yeah, it's right now. It's not. I wouldn't call it plus power.
Hmm.
I think maybe he could get there, but it might be. I think the game power maybe ends up playing above the raw power
Mm-hmm.
potentially. It maybe is just a matter of approach and like learning which pitches to take more chances on and try to do more pull side damage with.
Yeah. And he hits the ball on the ground and on the line a lot. And like you said, he has a pretty balanced spray chart in terms of going to the pull side or going to the opposite field. Like he definitely is not a player who is trying to elevate and get the ball in the air a lot. I don't know that he needs to do that to be successful, but I would certainly imagine there is some untapped power potential if he wanted to shake that up. So I'll be curious how that piece of his game evolves.
Where do we disagree on the defensive side? You think he just has very little chance at third base?
Yeah, I mean, if you're, I would say if you're sticking him at third base, you're just living with the fact that you're not. Like I would be surprised if he developed into an average third baseman, just given the footwork, given his lateral ability, just given how his hands work there. I don't know. I think he's got a good arm, but I don't know if he does enough of the other things well defensively.
Yeah, maybe I like him a little bit better than that. I think I've seen other players, whether it's like Rafael Devers or other
Mhm.
players at that age, where you're like, this guy's probably going to move to first base, and oh, actually, I don't think he's going to be a league average defender at third base,
Mhm.
but I think he has a chance to be at least playable over at third base,
Okay.
or if he's a fringy to below average
I could see
defender,
that
you
then.
can
We
you
might
can
be in
hang there.
we might have some overlap on our defensive eval, even if you're maybe a little more optimistic. I'm maybe a little more pessimistic, but I think we're a little closer. Who we got
Um,
next? Pirates.
Pirates, last place Pirates. Levi Sterling. The
You did it again, Ben. You
do
keep
we?
stealing my guys.
You can go. You can go first on some of these if you want.
Oh no, that's
Um,
fine. I like to kind of keep our time stamps going, let you go, and then follow up. I mean, it's
the
better for you to have the first say on these guys. The people want to know
yeah.
what Ben Badler has to say.
Well, he's Levi Sterling's a right-handed pitcher. The Pirates drafted out of a California high school, number 37 overall last year. Super intriguing guy coming into his junior year. We had him as a top 30 player overall in the 2024 high school class, which was an extremely high ranking at the time for a guy who was really not throwing all that hard and wasn't all that famous at the time. What I liked was that he's young, athletic, starter look, touch and feel, and projection arrows pointing up, even if the raw velocity wasn't there yet. He had he just turned 18 in September, so he's very young for the class. He could be a 2025 high school pitcher just based on his age. And then he's 6'5", 200 pounds now. Back then, he was probably like 6'4", 185, touching 93, tight spin on a sharp breaking ball, quality changeup for his age, very sound mechanically, pitchability advanced for his years, repeats, throws a lot of strikes. All of that is still true today, which is a great thing because now you have a starter with a chance for average to plus stuff across the board, good delivery, strike thrower. The negative is that the velocity is basically still the same. I think all last spring he was one of the guys I was the most excited to hear reports on because I was
Yeah, see if he
hoping.
takes that jump, velo jump. Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear from scouts like, "Hey, Levi Sterling is out here. He's touching sixes and sevens," but it was more 88, 92, touch a three. So if he's out here in that same velocity band this year, or especially in 2026, just given how young he is, that would certainly dampen his forecast. But this is a player who is going to pitch all year, the entire season at 18 years old. There's still time for the velocity projection to come on. And if it does, you already have a ton of other traits in place that you want to see in a young starting pitching prospect.
Yep, I agree entirely across the board. I think Sterling checks every box you want from a high school pitcher who you want to see develop into a quality starter. I think he's got plus control. It's a super easy, super athletic, balanced, repeatable delivery. He's got confidence in all four of his pitches. The changeup is really advanced for a high schooler. I think the changeup is maybe his best pitch currently as we're waiting on that fastball to develop velo wise. He's touched 94. Like you said, I'm not too like pressing for the velo to come immediately. I think between just the projectable frame he has and how quick the arm works and just the athleticism, I think the velo will come. Um, I don't even think necessarily he needs to be this huge flamethrower. He just does everything else so well. I think he's going to be a guy who has a deep pitch mix to attack players. Um, yeah, I mean, this is how it looks on the mound for me. I was really happy to see him go where he went, 37th overall, signed for 2.5 million. I think the Pirates have done a nice job with some pitchers in recent years too, so that maybe gives you a little bit more confidence in him compared to him joining the Pirates like 10 years ago. But he just has every piece that I want to see. I don't really care for a high school pitcher to be throwing 99 as soon as they're drafted. Like that'll come. Just the command profile, the depth of the arsenal, the athleticism, the delivery, just really easy to fall in love with a pitcher like this, I think. So glad you said it. Maybe it would have been nicer if there was some sort of hitter we could project as a breakout for the Pirates, but they've invested a lot in pitching and they got more pitchers we like coming.